As you can probably imagine from what you've heard this morning, it has taken a tremendous effort to pull the pieces and elements of this particular forum together. This has not been an easy task. There have been many hours, painful hours spent in talking to people, in writing, in documenting, in encouraging, in praying about this. There have been hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, and not enough, to just get us to this point. And maybe because we didn't have quite enough people or quite enough dollars or quite enough time, this is not coming out according to any pre-developed script, okay? But what is coming out is how people feel and also what happened to people. We felt that the heart of the presentation this morning was the experiences that people had with this department, current and former employees. So we made a decision to let them tell their story like they wanted to tell it. I don't know who to cut off and where to cut them off, and we're over time. We also must give the same amount of time to the department. I think all of us are tired. We want a break. My back's hurting. I'd like to eat something too. But I want you to hear from these gentlemen first, because these are the first ones who took the step forward and brought out to the public the fact that there was abject racial discrimination as officers on the Northeast substation. These two gentlemen, who are current officers with the Houston Police Department, assigned to the Northeast substation, are Officer Jason Chevalier to the left, and to his right, Officer Kimmy Green. And these are the officers who were involved in the unprecedented, infamous car wash incident. And we want you to know the facts behind that case and some things that have not yet been revealed even to this point about that incident and what has happened to them. For these are the roots from which this tree of justice has grown. And so we'll hear from them, and then we'll take a break. And I'm sure there'll be some meetings between people from the department and the other organizational representatives about how we handle time, the Justice Department. And we're ready for that. Just be patient with us. And I apologize if we have been inadequate in our effort to try to pull this off, but we're doing the best we can. Let me recognize another elected official who sacrificed and gave of their time to come today. We asked them to come, and some of them responded. City Councilwoman Sheila Jackson Lee. We'll start with the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Jason Chevalier. I graduated from MB Smiley High School here in Northeast Houston. I also grew up there.
Speak more into the microphone. Bring the microphone closer.
I have currently been active in various programs within the department. And also, I work Northeast Patrol. I have been to basic photography school, defensive driving school, defensive tactics instructors school, annual in-service school, and also I am a crime prevention specialist. Through the course of my employment within the department, I have tried to attend other schools, such as accident school, radar school, crime scene, basic revolver, field training, instructors, advanced crime prevention, basic CRT schools, and several others. I haven't been allowed to attend any of these schools because I was told that they were full or not available. Any officer who attends these schools could easily advance within the department due to having the specialized skills in that particular area. I see other officers attend these schools with less seniority and after I applied for these schools. But I was always told they were full. I have also, for the past 4 years, tried to obtain a new bulletproof vest. But a white officer with less seniority than myself obtained one and was bragging about it. I was told there wasn't any. And to this date, I still have not received a new vest. In my experience as a patrol officer, I note that the average amount of calls ran on a shift is 5 to 6 calls for a one-man unit and 7 to 8 calls for a two-man unit. On October the 6th, 1990, I ran 13 calls. I was a one-man unit. My first call of that day, I ran a disturbance call with additional units. On this particular call, a male had threatened to kill his ex-wife and her mother. He had also stolen her company car. I then began searching the area for the suspect. After finding the suspect, I began an intense chase with this vehicle. This chase lasted approximately 30 minutes. The suspect then wrecked the vehicle. A foot chase then ensued. I then caught the suspect, who began fighting with me. I then arrested the suspect along with the other units who aided in chasing the suspect. After the chase was over, I was commended by other officers and supervisors on the way I calmly called the chase over the radio. This enabled all the units responding and additional help to know exactly where I was and the direction I was traveling. On the same day, I received a call on Mesa at the end of my shift, which turned out to be a very controversial case that unjustly jeopardized my career. This was the Linda Tucker case. I was dispatched to a series of calls in that immediate area, which every time I arrived, there was no reportee to talk to. I then was flagged down on a call where a black female advised me of a possible disturbance between a male and a female that she had followed to a park on the corner of Mesa and Lake Park. I checked this location and found nothing. I then cleared the call. Later, I then volunteered to run a call at 8427 Mesa, approximately at 10:10 p.m. at the Rice Food Market. I then went inside the store where the manager handed me in a nonchalant way a piece of paper with a license plate number written on it. He then left and began working in the store. I tried to question him further, but he was so preoccupied with the work in the store, I couldn't get any answers. I then went outside to my patrol vehicle to obtain the information on this plate via my MDI. It is a computer. At this time, the first reportee I had spoken to earlier approached me with additional information, a suspect description. Moments later, a black male and a black female approached me, giving me a license plate number. This was the same number that the manager gave me. They stated they had witnessed a portion of this incident. I asked them specific questions, as I did everyone concerned. I was not able to obtain any clear answers to the questions I asked, such as, did they look like boyfriend and girlfriend? Did he have a weapon? The first reportee I talked to advised me that she may have seen the vehicle driving on Tarleton Street. It is west of Mesa. I immediately acted and stated I would check this location. Before I left, the first reportee gave me another piece of information, which was a car description, a black Ford GT. I then went and checked this area thoroughly, and numerous isolated areas, and found nothing. I was briefing the dispatcher as I was driving, searching for this vehicle. Based upon the incomplete information and the other witnesses who could not give me any clear information, I interpret this to be a common domestic quarrel and which resulted in possibly them going home to resolve the matter. I did not make a report due to not having a complainant or clear information. According to common departmental practices, a written report is unwarranted in incidents with these circumstances. I believe that I was wrongly disciplined and suspended for 12 days without pay, even though I followed common departmental practices because the victim, Linda Tucker, tragically had been murdered as a result of this incident. I was relieved of duty and been told by several supervisors that it was my fault that the female was abducted and later killed. I reluctantly accepted the punishment because I felt I had no choice. This incident was later used to force me to wash cars. Another incident I was unjustly punished for. Now I found myself being accused of stealing overtime. I also found myself in front of 3 white supervisors, Sergeant Oates, Sergeant Carstner, and Lieutenant Hathaway, yelling, cursing, accusing me and Officer Green of stealing overtime. Myself and Officer Green had on several different times asked 2 different supervisors to clarify the policy for us, including me making a phone call to Sergeant Kirshner at the station. We were told to submit the overtime and see what happens. I definitely saw what happened. A setup which resulted in the washing of police cars. As far as I know, no other officer had washed police cars. The only other person to wash cars were jail trustees. Jail trustees are prisoners who perform tasks around the jail. This was certainly degrading to myself and Officer Green, which Lieutenant Hathaway acknowledged to us, yes, I know it is. I was in disbelief at this. I felt I was forced to do this because Sergeant Kirshner stated to me, Jason, I know you damn sure don't want another one, meaning the Linda Tucker incident. Lieutenant Hathaway then linked the punishment together because we both had to wash cars or we both would have to go through an IAD complaint. I then reluctantly agreed to wash the cars, knowing that this was definitely not within my job description as a patrol officer, nor appropriate discipline. However, I offered the suggestion to work an extra hour on the street. Lieutenant Hathaway stated, no, either wash cars or face IAD. I then left the meeting in disbelief. When I started walking away, I turned around and I saw the supervisors laughing at this. I then knew this was a joke or a game to them. I left the meeting with the understanding that I would not receive a complaint. But now I am currently under investigation for misconduct and criminal activity. I don't know why, but I was made to wash patrol cars to keep from having a complaint. We received a complaint on March the 26th, which on March the 27th, the chief of police was on national television stating that she would not file a complaint on us. We had already received the complaint a day before. The retaliation began when the Black United Front released this incident. I had put in for some better days off, which I had received based upon my seniority. Captain Kern stated that I could not get the days off. He had put me in 7th district and the days off were in 8th district. I wanted to work in 8th district because I did grow up in 8th district. I then requested a meeting with Captain to discuss the reason for me not getting the days off. During this meeting, the captain stated that he was protecting me from the public. It is to my understanding that I am to protect and serve the public. I then asked the captain, what am I to do about wanting better days off? He replied, I was to stay in 7th district, and if days off came up, I could only apply in 7th district. The captain also stated that I was to stay in 7th district for a year as a form of punishment from the Linda Tucker incident for which I have already been punished for. Also, as another form of retaliation, I have noted that myself and my partner, Officer Green, we were being followed at work. And we also received threatening phone calls. I still want my days off, and I had them based upon my seniority. The captain denied me the days, and now I have several people that has way less seniority than me that have weekends off in patrol. And I know this is not right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kimmy Green. I am from Houston, and I graduated from Jeff Davis High School. I attended Texas Southern University for 2.5 years before going into the Houston Police Department. I am a patrolman. I am in my 7th year of service. I would like to talk to you about some problems that myself and others see that exist in the Houston Police Department. Other minority officers fear reprisals if they were to tell their concerns. I have faith that if we talk about these problems publicly, that some solutions will occur. In my presentation, I'm going to use some real-life examples that have happened to myself and other officers. Unequal and unfair distribution of equipment has been a major problem for black officers at the department. We especially have problems getting the new cars when they arrive yearly. Each year, the method of issuing the cars changed so that it can provide new cars for the good old boy network. Officer T.C. Pinson is responsible for issuing cars and computer at my station. Officer Pinson went as far to say to an undisclosed fair white officer that he did not like to issue new cars to black officers because they do not take care of them. If the statistics for accidents would be openly reviewed for any recent period of time at the Northeast substation, they would substantiate that the white officers are tearing up the majority of the cars. In August of 1989, myself and my partner received a new car. This was my 5th year on the department, and we drove this car for only 1 day. The next day, when we reported to work, we were required to turn in the keys to the new car because it was allegedly, mistakenly given to us. Officer Pinson said we were not due a new car because I had been issued a new car before. I was issued this car he was referring to in September of 1987 on my 3rd year with the department. This was my first new car, and Officer K.R. Perkins was my partner at this time. I pampered this car for the 9 months I drove it. It was then taken away because I changed from early side shift to late side shift on an involuntary reassignment of off days. I was then given a junker car, which was in the shop 9 straight months. My partner had never been issued a new car. At this time, August of '89, my partner had 6 years on the department. Officer Pinson told my partner that since he rode with me, and my being issued a new car knocked out his eligibility. Actually, he was not my partner at that time. Kenneth Perkins was. I protested this injustice to my field sergeant, trying to work within the system, and I went up the chain of command. He gave us permission to speak with Lieutenant Weber, and he gave us permission to meet with Captain R.D. Williams and Officer Pinson. We met and had a heated discussion. I presented documented proof corroborating my statements. The only thing that came from this meeting was slick, charismatic rhetoric. The very next day, the terminology for issuing new cars was changed by Captain Williams. The captain said there will be no more new cars. Now everyone will be issued a car that works. Getting into the various schools that HPD offers are extremely difficult for black officers because of the obvious implication, which is knowledge. Certain HPD schools such as MAPA, radar, semi-automatic weapons, advanced MAPA, and crime scenes are considered specialty courses that are helpful in transferring from division to division. The only way most black officers get into these schools if they're in the good old boy system. To fairly obtain off days are also a problem. Good off days are as follows: Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday, Monday. Poor off days are as follows: Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday. Off days at our station were supposed to be announced for a certain period of time. The list is then closed, and the days were supposed to be given away by seniority. But some supervisors were not announcing the days, but were just giving them to the good old boys. To compound this infraction, the individuals that receive these days off were out of classes 132 through 135, making them have very little seniority. You have black officers out of classes 126 through 131 with poor days off. 8th District is on the northeast side of Houston and policed by predominantly black officers. Recently, Captain Kern came down on the officers of 8th District through his supervisors, alleging that work productivity was down. They monitored the production of these officers for a 15 to 20-day period. They then presented figures of productivity to each individual officer. Management said these figures are not good enough. You have to increase your work production, a risk being involuntary transferred. The department is not supposed to have a quota system. This sure looks like one to me. If someone is doing an analysis or a survey of work production, you have to have the figures of the other districts to compare with to project an accurate analytical result of subpar work production. But Captain Curran decided that he would only look at 8th District based upon a complaint from some citizens in AC 30's beat who went down to City Council and complained that 2 officers in their community were alerting drug dealers that the police were coming to prevent them from being arrested. The citizens knew one of the officers' name, which is Philpott, and they gave that to City Council. This situation is a case of misinterpretation. On February 12, 1991, the media aired a topic of police officers alerting drug dealers that they are coming. They were interviewing Councilwoman Sheila Jackson Lee on this topic. They then split the screen and showed footage of 2 HPD officers responding to a burglary call. These 2 officers had nothing to do with the allegations at hand. This was merely video footage by the media to bring presence to their story. The citizens of City Gas saw this interview and associated the officers in the video clip to be the same officers which are alerting the drug dealers that the police are coming. One of these officers in the video clip was Officer Philpott, who is a very popular and widely known officer in this community. His name was retrieved with ease. The citizens, acting upon their misinterpretation of the news story, went to City Council and complained on Officer Philpott. This started the process of ridicule and close examination of the black officers that work 8th District. The facilities that black officers use predominantly are harassed. The officers like to lift weights. The white officers like to lift weights, so they use the weight room. Black officers like to play basketball, so we use a gym. Being that we have so few black officers on the department, we have to invite friends and relatives that are not on the department so that the competitiveness level is high and that we get a good workout. We generally have enough people so that we play full-court basketball. The problem started when a handful of white officers, maybe 4 to 5, wanted to take over the gym and change our full-court play to half-court. We generally have 25 to 30 people a night. These handful of white officers wanted to dictate how these 25 to 30 people are going to play basketball. We often showed the white officers that our system of playing ball was fair, and if they waited like the rest of us, they would get a chance to play. But this was not good enough for them. So they ran off all our guests by threatening to put them in jail. We started playing on Mondays, then we were forced to try Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and all of those days were taken from us. This situation ended in the white officers getting together and getting the gym closed by Chief Watson from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 10 p.m. was the time that we would have usually started playing. The weight room, a facility that the white officers used predominantly, was not closed, nor has the rules been changed for using it. It is just as it's always been, open around the clock. Now I'd like to talk about a cruel and unjust ordeal that happened to myself and Officer Chevalier. Myself and Officer Chevalier went to annual and service training school instead of our regular work assignment on February the 11th through February the 15th. This assignment was at the Houston Police Academy and was from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is 9 hours. The academy staff told us that we can put in for overtime. I had never put in for overtime for annual and service training school before. I was confused about, what to claim for time. I submitted 3 overtime slips on Sunday, March 17, 1991, to Sergeant Gorowski. The sergeant took the slips and originally told me that I could not claim the time. Another officer that was in the office explained to the sergeant that I could due to all the confusion. I tried to take the slips back, but the sergeant said, send them up and we'll wait and we'll see what happens. I then emphasized to Sergeant Gorowski that I needed to know whether or not it was improved because I keep personal records of my overtime. I knew I had not claimed my day off because I was trying not to claim so much time. I also filled out the slips from my pocket diary, and I did the best I could. I filled out 3 slips for an hour each day. Apparently, in my confusion, I put down the wrong date for one of the days on the slip. This wrong date was February 15, 1991. I wasn't aware that I had done this until my meeting with the lieutenant. Sergeant Gorowski originally implied that if there was a problem with the overtime slips, he would allow me to correct them. Later in the work week, Sergeant Kirshner asked me something about overtime from a distance. I thought he was trying to clear up the confusion about me submitting those slips.